Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to AP US Government and Politics on AP for Teens. This is the continuation of the federalism stuff that we were talking about last video. We're going to talk about today the different types of federalism and how they handle money, because each one handled money in a slightly different way. As you can see this dollar sign there. If you're in the US, as we're talking about here, you're going to use dollars. If you're in another country, you use other values. But on the test, I'm pretty sure they talk about dollars, from what I remember from the test. Now, in the last video, which might have been a while depending on if you are watching these as I produce them, in other words, the last one was like a month ago, we talked about what federalism is, we talked about the powers of government, and we talked about a few clauses in the Constitution that really help federalism take root in the United States. Now you're going to click on the link right there for that video. Please click on that link and make sure that you're watching all the videos. I feel like that would be really useful for the AP US government exam, rather than watching random videos unless you're pretty sure you understand what I've already discussed. Like, if you think you understand federalism, you don't have to watch these videos. If you think that you might need some background help or you're cramming for the test, then I would really stream these videos one after one to make sure that you understand everything that could possibly be tested on. So right there, click on the link for that video. Let's break the glass. Today, what are we going to be discussing? We're going to be discussing the different types of federalism. We're going to talk about grants and how they impact federalism. And we're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the federalism word that I keep using over and over again, but there's not really another word to use. So, let's get started. Let's open the curtain and begin. As you can see the title. Let me get my announcer voice. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, and Durin forgot the second far. Are you kidding me? It's far, far away. Why aren't you using far and far? Never mind. Now, the federal and state government at this point in time, it's 1790-ish. The federal and state government were separate and independent. You've got dual federalism in place. And dual federalism is the idea that the citizens should contact their state government to deal with their problems, as the federal government dealt with the bigger problems, which at this point was that large island called Great Britain. Alright, no offense if any British person is watching this, but we're talking about back then when everybody didn't really like the British that much, and, you know, the War of 1812 was going to happen, which is probably the greatest name since, you know, the 7 Years' War that lasted 9 years and things like that. Now, sometimes this dual federalism is referred to as a layer cake method, the idea that the state government deals with one thing, the federal government deals with another thing, and that there are two layers of a cake. So I'm going to pull my mouse up here. This would be the local government. They deal with this. Then the state government deals with this. The federal government deals with this. And this extra layer is there to make the cake taste good. Alright? So that's the layer cake method. I've actually seen the layer cake method on questions before, although I don't remember if that was my teacher's questions or an AP question. So make sure you understand that they're the same thing. Layer cake and dual federalism are intertwined in this setting. Now, it's how you see it. All parts of the Constitution, the definition of federalism is in the eye of the beholder. So if you're a person, states writers believe that the relationship should be where the states contain the most power. Most of the power should be, you know, state to state. If you're a citizen of New York over here, then you're going to go to your New York government for the authority to do something. Now, at this point, obviously, you see 50 states, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. At this point, as you should know, there are only 13 states, which are the original 13 colonies. Now, on the other hand, you've got nationalists, and nationalists believe that federal government is supreme. They should be in control of the things that are really, really important, which at this time is basically everything. So, how do you determine who's got the power? I'm not singing the song because that could possibly have copyright. It probably does have copyright, and I don't want to get sued. I'm not making money to begin with. Now, how do you determine who's got the power? Speaking of money, it's all about the dough. It's all about the dough. There we go. All right. The grants, money that's given by the federal government to the states and are used for jobs of the government. Okay? What do you think of when you think the government does something? That you think of building roads or bridges and providing public education and things like that. Nationalists believe in categorical grants, and I'm pretty sure I spelled that right, although when looking at it, it doesn't look right. It is right. I knew it. Okay. Categorical grants. Categorical grants have restrictions and limits on how it can be spent. So the federal government may give a grant to the state government specifying exactly what it has to be built for. It has to be built for route number here to make sure the road is better. You can't go and spend it on a different route, because then you'd be breaking the law, and then the federal government can go and have at it. States' writers believe that you should have block grants, and block grants don't have the restrictions. States can choose where the money goes. So if the national government says, here's a truckload of cash, use it on a road, use it to better transportation, you could use it for a road, or you could use it for a bridge, or you could use it for a tunnel, or I don't know what else actually there is beside those two. If you can think of anything else than that. Let's wipe that off. The advantages and disadvantages of this system. Now, as you can see here, advantages of federalism, disadvantages of federalism. I'm going to cover up the disadvantages so we focus on the left-hand side. Advantages of federalism, mass participation. Alright? You can have all ages, backgrounds, races, religions, although at this time it wasn't really like that. Now it definitely is. You can have all sorts of people voting on your local and national issues. So, like, everything. If you want a tax increase, sometimes the people are able to vote for that. If you can't specifically vote for it, you can vote for politicians that will say yes or no. Regional autonomy. States retain some rights. They still have rights. It's not like the national government is completely in control, as it seems sometimes in federalism. States have rights and can choose things about public policy. Things such as, depending on the state, gun control, abortion, property rights, other things like that. Government levels, okay? Politicians are in touch with their constituents. They understand what their problems are. Your local mayor will understand your problems better. Your governor will understand your state's problems. And then the president obviously understands national problems. And with federalism, you can have innovative methods. States could be testing grounds. You can test ideas out on states. So if the government has an idea for a certain education policy, they won't immediately give it to all 50 states. They'll say, here, let's give it to, I'm trying to think of a state I haven't mentioned at all in the series yet. Let's give it to Arizona. All right, let's give them, let's see what they can do with it. And if it's successful there, then they'll try to spread it out more and more. All right, let's cover that up. And now let's go to disadvantages of federalism. Problem is, some problems are consistency. One state may say that gun control should be strengthened. You should really, crack down on gun control and make sure that only these people can have it. While other states, they'll say, gun control is not really that big of a problem. That's not the issue. That the guns aren't the issue that we have. Taxes as well. Some states have taxes that go this way, and some states have taxes that go that way. Like where I live in Delaware, we don't have sales tax. That's a great thing. Although in other states, like I believe, actually no, I don't believe. Never mind. Some states don't have property tax or income tax or some sort of other form of tax. It's inefficient. Federalism can lead to duplication. Sorry, my bad. Of government and inefficient, overlapping, or contradicting policies. Okay, you could, like I said, if some states have gun control laws and some states don't, if you cross the border, you might be breaking the law, technically. And bureaucracy. Power can be spread out so much that it can cause problems in the government itself. Possibilities of corruption. So now you can see the full chart here. Just compare the two. There seem to be more advantages of federalism, but the disadvantages are pretty severe. They're more powerful disadvantages, so it balances out. Now, a chart of powers. The chart of powers. What does the federal government have the power to do, and what does the state government have the power to do? Alright, this is back at that point. This is what they don't have. I'm sorry, my mistake. I don't think I mentioned that. This is the powers that they do not have. They don't have the right to suspend the writ of habeas corpus. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but habeas corpus is a good thing. A protection against illegal imprisonment. You want to have habeas corpus, but if they suspend it, you're going to be forced into jail when you don't know what you're in jail for. So you're not allowed to suspend that, and both governments, federal and state, can't do that. Ex post facto, which you can see on the second line of both of them, that's a bad thing. That's retroactive laws, which is, for example, say if the drinking age is 21 and, say you're 23 and drinking, then they all of a sudden increase the age to 25. They can't come and over to you and arrest you for drinking underage, because technically you weren't drinking underage. You just would have to stop at this point. So ex post facto laws are a bad thing. You don't want them to happen. The federal government and the state government are not allowed to do that. Bills of attainder. Bills of attainder are also a bad thing. Bills of attainder are basically guilty without a trial. All people have the right to a trial, and the federal and state government can't force you into jail and for you to pay for your crime without seeing if you did the crime. And you can see as well there are other things. The federal government can't impose export taxes. They can't use money without approval, and they can't grant titles of nobility. The state government can't enter wars. You can't have a war between Georgia and Alabama. That's not going to happen. You're not going to have you're not going to have an international war where you say Texas, Nebraska, Montana, and New York are out fighting. I don't know. Give me a country that doesn't. The Swiss for something. That's not going to happen. The state government can't have an army. There's only the national army. They can't print money, so you're not going to see. You're not going to see Californian dollars anywhere. They can't grant nobility either, and the state government cannot make import or export taxes. So export taxes, if you send stuff out of the country, if you make something in the country and send it out, you can't be taxed for that. Now the federal government can tax things coming in, which is to make you try to buy things that are made in the US. Now these powers are separated into different groups, which we are going to be discussing next time. Thank you so much for watching this episode of AP US Government and Politics. Please do one of the following: subscribe on the left, leave a comment in the center, or like on the right. Please, please, please do this if you want to continue this channel, because I'm going to continue these videos, but I need to know how many people are actually out there watching. So please do one of the following. Thank you very much. You were watching AP US Government and Politics. This channel is AP for Teens. Go spread it to your friends. Thank you and good night.